Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from a throwaway account and says, am I the asshole for staying neutral in a situation between my son and my daughter and wife? This all started a couple of years ago and it completely split our family apart. My son, Zed, 22 male, has pretty much been estranged from us since he was 18. Adam is the son of good family friends. He and my daughter, P, 24 female, began dating around when they were 19. The problem is, Adam was a bully to my son throughout school. As you can imagine, he didn't take it very well. He was furious, however my daughter refused to budge on this. I tried to stay out of the situation, but my wife took my daughter's side. Partially as we're good friends with Adam's parents, but also because she thought Zed would eventually get over it. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Instead, it made a stark difference in my son's personality. He'd become much more aggressive, cold, and disrespectful. He no longer listened to what me or his mother had to say, often using intimidation to get what he wanted. He would also disappear for days at a time without so much as a word. This would more or less carry on until he left for university, after which he probably spent no more than 2 weeks in total back at home, opting to stay with friends or whatever girl he was seeing at the time. He has rejected any olive branch we extend. This has completely destroyed our family, and it especially hurts my wife as they were quite close before this happened. The last time we spoke was last year before lockdown. He called me a coward for sitting on the fence. I understand why he feels the way he does, but was I really wrong to stay neutral in this? I didn't feel like it was my place to control my daughter's life. And before we go to the update, we're going to jump straight into the comments, starting with Santa Pasha Mama, who says, "You're the arsehole. Why did you two not help your son while he was being bullied? Why be friends with the bully's parents? You aren't neutral, you took the bully's side." Something is shady, sir, says, "Yep, you're the arsehole. So are your daughter and your wife, especially your daughter. I would never have dated someone who bullied my sibling. That is betrayal of a huge magnitude, and the fact that your wife supported her horrible actions and you stayed out of it was also a betrayal to him. Your wife made it clear to her son that he is less valuable to her than his sister, so she has no right to feel hurt. You refusing to take part was tantamount to taking her side. You as a family excluded your son and left him with no support. Your son had every right to feel the way he did about the situation. He rejects your olive branches because they mean nothing." Bunawat13 says, "You're the arsehole and you did not remain neutral in this. You tried to take the easy way out and not face up to and work on an issue in the family. Adam is the son of good family friends. So what did your family friends do while Adam abused Zed throughout high school? Since it continued for up to 4 years, it seems like nothing was done. My wife sided with the good family friends who did nothing about their son's bullying behavior. She also thought Zed would get over it. Zed became aggressive, cold, and disrespectful. Maybe because his parents sided with a bully that tormented him through high school. His parents betrayed him. You seem to like bullying behavior, so he became more aggressive. He has rejected any olive branch we extend, kind of like you rejected him. Did Adam even apologize? If Adam hits your daughter, are you guys going to think she should get over it? Adam is a bully. You've stated this. You don't have control over your daughter's love life, but you do have control over who enters your house. You could have tried to get Adam to own up to what he did. You could have done anything other than pretend to be neutral. Your son needs you. Your son needed you. You chose Adam by default." Erstwhile02 says, "Oh my god, you're the arsehole. You welcomed your son's bully into your lives with open arms, and you were friends with his bully's parents. Why the hell would he come home? It was clearly not a safe zone for him." And one more comment from VelocityRaptor999 who says, "You're the arsehole. You stayed friends with the parent of a child that was making his life hell. Even if you had significant and genuine reasons for this, to him it looks like everyone else is more important than him. The people that are meant to be protecting him are playing buddy-buddy with his tormentor instead. And his own sister gets with a guy that's treated him like dirt. How little does she think of him? That what he went through is that irrelevant. Obviously, life isn't always black and white as that. And you weren't there either in his corner to defend him, or at the bare minimum, talk to him about it. Even after your wife took your daughter's side, again telling your son that your daughter's happiness is more important than his. Who exactly did he have to talk to? And why are you surprised he doesn't want to have a close relationship with you all anymore? You're the arsehole. And from my perspective, you know me, and if you've been here long enough, you know that I was bullied in my last years of school, so I can always relate to bullying stories and the feelings and how scared you are and the trauma it's created. I mean, years later, I still think about it, and I think no therapy or anything like that is ever going to make that go away for me. And I think if one of my brothers, was to start dating, say, my bully, there'd be no way I'd ever be able to forgive that. I'd feel betrayed by that, especially like if they knew about it, etc. And then my mum and dad was also on the side of my brother as well. I'd just feel totally betrayed and like an outcast in that family instantly. I know I'd feel that way. And I kind of feel that you didn't stay neutral in this. Like some of the comments said, you thinking you stayed neutral, you didn't, because you wasn't protecting your son. But then we come in with OP's update, which says, I wanted to upload this earlier, but I just got around to remembering what the password for this was. I did not plan on making an update. It was quite clear that we were in the wrong and we accept that. However, my son was informed of the original post by one of his cousins. He got in contact and he found it hilarious. My wife managed to convince him to meet up with us and talk. He insisted on me making an update with the takeaways from that conversation, so here goes. Regarding the post, his exact words were, big up those people who showed love and all the people who called me petty can go fuck themselves. He said this with the biggest smile on his face. He also found it hilarious how, despite me trying my best to make him look bad, most of the replies were still ripping into me. I'm sure a lot of people are interested in how he's doing now. I'm happy to say he has outgrown his abrasiveness and has become a very confident and intelligent young man. He's very secretive about what he's doing now, but one thing he is open and proud about is the charity he runs. He happily went into detail about how he works with disadvantaged children and helps get them opportunities, particularly in sports. In regards to his sister and Adam, he seemed completely indifferent to them. He said he wasn't particularly interested in talking about two losers who no one really likes. It was a long conversation. We talked about a lot, but it seemed to end with my son letting us know that while there might be the slightest bit of contact between us, me and my wife will always be on the outside looking in on his life. While this isn't what me and my wife hoped for, we are looking at it as a chance to eventually build our relationship back up. This was the main takeaway from everything that has happened, but I know there are probably a lot of questions that people want to ask. I'll try my best to get around to answering all of them. The original post was removed as I broke one of the rules. My apologies for that, but I'm sure there is a copy of it floating around. And I'm not sure if it's just me in this one, but I certainly feel like OP feels like there's something that they might be able to build this relationship back up, whereas I got the feeling that's just not ever going to happen. It kind of feels like you've hurt your son too much and you're not going to be able to turn that around, but maybe that's just me. Who knows what might happen in the future? What do you guys make of this one? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from RuZ7651, who asks, am I the arsehole for telling my sister nobody was interested in her PhD research? My sister, 34 female, and I, 31 female, come from a working class family. Nobody in our family has a higher than a high school education, save for us. I have a bachelor's and my sister is currently working on her PhD. Obviously, we're both proud of this, but my sister often brags to an extent that many in our family find uncomfortable or discouraging, and she talks down to the people around her. When she began her program, she explained it in very technical terms that confused our aunt. When she was asked to clarify, my sister made a fuss about how it was so easy for her to understand, and she forgets that not everyone can wrap their heads around it. It's been an issue since she started her master's, and I've admittedly been at my wit's end with her for quite a while. I hosted Thanksgiving this year. When we were eating, my sister was asked about her research, and she went on a long, complicated spiel about her work. She was missing context, pulling out every 10-cent word, getting super technical and under-explaining every concept. She talked for about 10 minutes straight, barely pausing for questions or comments. It dominated conversation. Eventually, I interrupted her and tried asking about her dad about his work. My sister interrupted him and said she wasn't finished and continued talking. I told her I was finished listening to her and that she could talk all she wanted, but she'd need to do it in another room. She made some comments about my hosting and continued on. I stopped her again and told her that nobody was interested and she needed to be quiet, which she did. It was admittedly extremely awkward and quiet, and my husband decided to just plow on and make conversation with an aunt of mine. After that, conversation carried on as usual, with my sister being very, very quiet. Afterwards, our parents scolded me for being rude but said my sister was being over the top, but I should have just let her talk. A few of our other relatives thanked me for cutting her off. Her fiancé called me yesterday morning and said I embarrassed my sister and made her feel ashamed. He implied I was jealous of her success and asked me to formally apologize to her. I said I'd apologize to her, but I wouldn't mean it, and he hung up on me. I thought it over. I can see how my approach was wrong, but I genuinely did not see any other option at the time. Always willing to learn though, and seeking a new perspective. Am I the arsehole for telling my sister nobody was interested in her PhD research? I'm going to start in the comments with Incartrus, who says everyone sucks here. Your sister needs to know how to explain her doctoral work to a lay audience if she has any hope of passing her dissertation committee. She also needs to learn how to craft an elevator sentence. She also needs to learn how to take a hint gracefully. You need to stop being jealous of her success. Conscious of it or not, jealousy and resentment oozes out of this entire post. Regardless of how long she droned on or how rude it was of her to stop you from talking with your dad, the general core of this post isn't really centered on that, but your overall worldview on her academic career. Swirly Flurry says everyone sucks here. Sis needs to learn to temper her enthusiasm for her field of study. It's great she's so excited about her PhD work, but she needs to learn which level of explanation is appropriate for which groups of people. OP needs to learn how to redirect a conversation without being an arsehole about it. Especially if you are the host, and you are responsible for all of your guests feeling welcome and respected in your home. Catalina says, not the arsehole. Monologuing at a large family gathering is spectacularly rude. After she was cut off, she should have realized she exhausted her time. She's not even trying to have a meaningful conversation. She's just showing off. Gross behavior. And one more comment from Abaja Blast, who says, not the arsehole, you may have embarrassed her, but what do you think she was trying to do at everyone at the table? She wanted to feel superior. She wanted everyone to feel embarrassed and dumb. I'm glad you interrupted her. It's rude to dominate the conversation like that, especially when no one else knows what you're even talking about. And now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on and have another story. And our next story comes from SquarePoint4234, who says, am I the arsehole for calling my husband unreasonable for cancelling the holiday trip just because me and the kids couldn't help him in an emergency? My husband and I have been together for 4 years. I have 2 kids, 17 male and 19 female. And their half-brother is 3 years old. This past week, my husband had an emergency. Dad had a medical emergency and wanted someone to watch our son. He asked my older son and he refused because he was going out with friends. He also asked my daughter, but she locked herself in her room to study. I was at the restaurant with my brother meeting his girlfriend for the first time. My husband ended up taking our son with him to the hospital and his mum watched him from there. He came home and was lashing out on everybody, calling us selfish and unfeeling. I tried to explain that the kids were busy, but he told me to get the fuck out with all that bull because my older son could have skipped the hangout and watched his brother, and my daughter could have watched her brother while studying instead of locking herself in her room. He scolded me as well, but I told him I couldn't leave lunch with my brother since he was visiting town and this was my only chance to meet his girlfriend. He yelled some more, then told us he was cancelling the family holiday trip for Christmas this year. The 2 older kids were upset and I said it was unfair. I called him unreasonable to cancel the trip and punish the kids, and possibly me, like that. He refused to discuss it later. Now me and the kids aren't speaking to him and he's saying good riddance. Edit, my husband was supposed to watch our son at the time. That's why I went to see my brother at the restaurant. The kids aren't used to watching their brother when neither parent is home. And we do have a small paragraph worth of update which we'll cover after some of the comments. Now, we've had a couple of stories in the past where we covered, family not helping out with medical emergencies like this. I could never see myself, a member of my family came up to me and said, oh, could you watch, my son, my daughter, whatever, because I need to go and attend a medical emergency or something was going on. But go, nah, I'm sorry, I'm going out for lunch today, or I'm studying. Just the moment this guy needed some support, none of his family was there to do it. Of course, he's going to be incredibly upset and hurt by this, but the comment says, from alarming reply says, you're the arsehole, let's fix the title of your post. My husband cancelled our holiday trip because my kids and I are unreasonable, and he just found out that we couldn't care less about him or his family. ETA more, seriously OP, stop adding edits. You are so far away from being helpful to anyone, including yourself in this situation. Just stop. It appears you and your older kids will be getting consequences this year for Christmas. Gleam in the Cubicle says, you're the arsehole. Medical emergency over hanging out. Medical emergency over studying. Medical emergency over lunchy munchies. Caspian says, you're the arsehole. When there's a family emergency, you drop everything to help. Meeting your brother's girlfriend for the first time is not a valid excuse not to go watch the 3-year-old. I mean, what the fuck? Clearly you put your husband very low on your list of priorities. I don't blame him for cancelling. You guys don't deserve it. Michelle says, just to add, the 3-year-old is your son too. Your husband had a genuine emergency, and instead of reacting with compassion, you had to stay at the restaurant. This doesn't even add up. The father's wife had to watch the toddler while her husband was being treated. If this is real, I'm going with you're the arsehole. And one more comment from Cognitive Traveler who says you're the arsehole. He just realized how selfish you and your children are, and he isn't willing to give them an expensive experience when he recently learned of their character. I didn't hear a reasonable excuse from you or your kids why they couldn't change plans to watch someone's kid for a family medical emergency. I wouldn't want to take you all on vacation either. So OP comes in with that little paragraph update which says, my husband just told us that he'll be spending Christmas with his family, saying he needs to be around his dad anyway. The kids said they will just go to their dad since they and my husband are still not talking. Neither of the kids are happy now with how things turned out, so I feel like things have gotten out of hand and the problem got bigger. He's now choosing to basically abandon us on Christmas and also keep our son away from me and his siblings. Now, what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's have another story. And this one comes from a throwaway account who says, am I the arsehole for calling out stepfamily's dirty laundry at Thanksgiving after they criticized me for being unmarried? I'm still getting shit for this from my family, so it's possible I may be a bit of the arsehole here. I'm 29 female. The players are my mum, stepdad, and 4 step siblings, 35 male, 37 male, 40 female, 42 male, and their families. I'm the black sheep in that I'm the only one not married with kids, but that's by my preference. I love living alone. I don't want kids, and having a partner just isn't that important to me. My family has been asking me when I'm going to get a boyfriend and settle down since I was 19, and the answer has always been, ew, never. I was going to skip Thanksgiving, but my mum insisted that she wanted everyone home this year, if possible, so I went. It was the usual drill, but youngest stepbrother and his wife are having another kid, so that was the big announcement. This was fine until around the end of dinner when one of the sister-in-laws asks if I'm not anxious to have kids since I'm almost 30 and time is running out. I laughed and said, nah, I'm good. That led to one of the stepbrothers saying that every family needs an old maiden aunt and some other comments I didn't appreciate. I said let's move on, but my mum said, we're just worried about you. This is where I'm possibly the arsehole. I know all the family dirt, so I said, well, I'm the only person at this table that's not an alcoholic, a cheater, or constantly broke as fuck because I have more kids than I can afford, so I'm not the one to worry about. And that's how I brought Thanksgiving to a dead halt, and no one said a thing for the rest of dinner. But my texts are radioactive still. I feel like it was probably riding the line, and my mum says this has caused a lot of problems among the siblings, but also they kinda started it. And we're gonna go straight to the comments and start off with Snoo Donuts who says, not the arsehole, hands down the best Thanksgiving showstopper ever. They fucked around and found out. Gorilla replies to that saying absolutely, and I guarantee that nobody is going to be asking her about her choices anymore. They like to dish it out but can't take it. I always thought this was weird and creepy. Boundary stomping aside, constantly asking someone about marriage and children when they're not even in a long-term committed relationship is backward and nonsensical to me. Should she be desperately trying to shack up with any random man because biological clock? Maybe some people don't bother to worry about children and marriage until they find someone worth planning that with first. Awkward Name says everyone sucks here. I mean, they are the worst and started it, but I think the things you said were too awful. Alcoholism is an illness, not an insult. Cheating, I don't care about the person who cheated, but now the person who was cheated on knows everyone knows, which adds embarrassment to them, and they didn't do anything. It shouldn't, but let's be real. It also brings that pain back, and again, they didn't cheat. And the broke because you have too many kids is mean because the kids might have heard it. As a person whose family always thought they could talk and get their mean words in, well, the kids were in the other room, I can tell you, you can't. Kids hear way more than you think. If I were you, I would have gone with well, all things considered, I think we all know I'm not the one to worry about it at this table. Then I would go watch Christmas movies with the kids because they sound like they might be the only not crappy people there. Maria Lynn says not the arsehole, your family simply got back what they dished out. Your mum insisted you join them for Thanksgiving. That wasn't your plan or what you wanted, but you were a good soul and agreed. To make you feel welcome and happy to be with your family on a big holiday, your family started with the inappropriate comments and digs, putting you on the spot with everyone watching. You asked them to stop, and then Mum, who insisted on family unity, doubled down on the implied criticism. They played an unwanted family game with you and won unwanted prizes. On the upside, you may have a permanent pass from upcoming family gatherings. I'll take that as a win. Ooh-wee, now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below as always. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, support and time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you once again, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.